Did you know that members of the Supreme Court aren't actually appointed for life? Article 3, Section 1 of the United States Constitution says that members of the Supreme and Interior Courts are to hold office while they are in good behavior. Now, good behavior is obviously subjective, but I think we can all agree that criminal behavior is not good behavior under the U.S. Constitution. Lying under oath, aka perjury, colluding with the GOP on partisan politics related to the insurrection, those things have been done by 5 separate members of the United States Supreme Court. 5 members who recently backed a particular decision. That means that they are no longer qualified to hold their office, and that any ruling they have done since that bad behavior could be overturned.
Earlier this week, I didn't think it was possible for the discourse surrounding the leaked majority opinion about overturning Roe v. Wade to get any more dystopic, but of course, that's exactly what is happening. A lot of people are talking about this citation within the opinion written by Samuel Alito, and it might seem frivolous, right? It's just a citation. But at a time when conservatives are saying that this decision is solely about interpreting the Constitution and whether or not this law in Mississippi is constitutional, you shouldn't be referencing research about the domestic supply of infants. This is what the CDC wrote and what is referenced in the citation. The domestic supply of infants relinquished at birth or within the first month of life and available to be adopted had become virtually non-existent. Let's first unpack the use of the word domestic. They're trying to control where the population in the United States is coming from. This is eugenics. This is a descent into fascism, quite frankly. And I just want to be clear that this isn't only coming from the people who wrote the majority opinion. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said something very similar about the court's decision to uphold Roe v. Wade. She said, "Frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in the populations that we don't want to have too many of." I don't know if she's talking about something racially motivated here, if she's talking about poor people having babies, but in any case, when you're talking about controlling certain kinds of people and their population through legislation, that's eugenics. This is a descent into fascism, and fascism isn't just about controlling populations and society, it's also about authoritarian control of the economy, which is also happening here and a part of this discourse from Supreme Court justices.
No, but it's not funny. At the end of the day, is it? It's serious.
Whenever I see stuff like this on TikTok, I am reassured that the kids are all right. And it's kind of funny, and it's also horrible, and those two things are sometimes true at once. But let's not make light of this. Some people who are pregnant would rather die than have a child. This is the kind of decision you're forcing on someone by banning abortions. And she makes a good point that this is about economics. And in the majority opinion, they're talking about human beings in terms of supply and demand. When you're doing that, you're talking about economics. And when you think about profit motives in the economy, they want to keep the supply of workers large so that they have more labor to exploit. But also it keeps wages low when many people are competing for few jobs, because in the United States, you don't have a choice but to sell your labor for money, to survive, to meet your most basic needs, to have shelter and food and clean water. And so we've got an authoritarian economy and now authoritarian control of the population. This is the collapse of capitalism and the descent into fascism, and people can only take so much of this before they revolt.